You think your silence is power. You think she's sitting there staring at her phone, missing you like crazy, right? But what if I told you your silence isn't making her miss you at all? In fact, it might be doing the exact opposite. Sometimes silence doesn't create desire. It confirms distance. And that's the mistake most people never realize until it's too late. Let's talk about that, because the truth is silence can either build connection or destroy it. It's not the silence that makes someone miss you. It's what that silence means to them. See, when you pull away hoping she'll chase, you're assuming she feels the same emotional depth that you do. But psychology says that's rarely the case. When a person doesn't value you the same way you value them, your silence isn't mysterious, it's forgettable. One, the illusion of silence. You think silence will make her curious, that one day she'll wake up, wonder where you went, and realize she misses you. It sounds smart, right? Like playing her own game against her. But here's what really happens. Your silence doesn't always echo in her mind the way you imagine. Sometimes it doesn't echo at all. You see, when you go silent, you feel it deeply because you care, because you're attached. But if she's already emotionally checked out, your silence doesn't pull her closer. It just confirms what she already believed, that you were never the one who truly understood her. And once a woman believes that, she starts letting go quietly. Psychology says when the emotional bond weakens, silence isn't mysterious anymore. It's empty. You might think you're creating tension, but what you're really doing is giving her more space to detach. The mind adapts fast when it stops receiving emotional stimulation. So instead of longing for you, she starts adjusting to your absence. That's not attraction. That's closure. It's painful. I know, because you imagine her scrolling through your messages, remembering your laughter, your care, your words. But reality, she's busy convincing herself she's fine. The female brain is wired to protect emotional stability. If something or someone disrupts that too often, she rewrites the story. In her mind, silence becomes proof. He doesn't care. He's done. And she responds to that belief, not to your intention. See, silence works only when there's something worth missing. If your presence didn't leave a mark, and not emotionally, not spiritually, not mentally, then your silence just fades into background noise. It's not the act of being silent that makes a person miss you. It's the memory of what your presence meant before you went quiet. So when men use silence as a trick, they misunderstand human psychology. You can't manipulate someone into caring. Real connection isn't built on who speaks last. It's built on who made an impact. Sometimes she doesn't miss you because your silence doesn't hurt her. It frees her. That's the part most people never see. They think pulling away creates value. But real value comes from consistency, from presence, from being emotionally grounded even when things fall apart. So yes, silence can be powerful, but only if it comes from peace, not pride. Otherwise, it's just noise in disguise. 2, the emotional detachment trap. Let's get honest for a second. When you go silent, what are you really hoping for? You want her to realize your worth, right? To feel your absence so deeply she runs back. But let's look at this differently. When a woman starts emotionally detaching, silence doesn't draw her in. It helps her heal from you. It's called emotional detachment, and it's brutal once it starts. The brain has a built-in defense system against emotional pain. When she senses rejection, distance, or emotional inconsistency, her mind starts shutting down emotional response systems. She doesn't do it consciously. It just happens. It's how she protects herself. So while you're sitting there waiting for her to text back, she's training herself not to care. Every moment of silence gives her brain more reason to believe the connection is over. It's like emotional rewiring. Each day without emotional engagement reduces the intensity of her feelings. What you think is making her miss you is actually helping her move on from you. You might think, but she used to chase me before. Yes, maybe. But that was when her emotions were active. Once emotional safety breaks, it's hard to rebuild. Women crave security, not silence. And if your silence feels like rejection, she'll never see it as strength. She'll see it as abandonment. This is why ghosting, ignoring, or playing mind games never works long term, because real connection doesn't grow through absence. It grows through emotional awareness. You can't force desire by Withdrawing. You nurture it by showing understanding, balance, and emotional control. The worst part, when she finally feels nothing, she won't even be angry. She'll just be indifferent, and that's when you've truly lost her. Not when she argues, not when she cries, but when she stops reacting completely. So before you go silent thinking she'll miss you, understand this. Silence isn't a magic trick. It's a mirror. It reflects the emotional depth that once existed. If there was none, there's nothing to miss. If you were inconsistent, her heart learned not to depend on you. That's why your silence isn't making her miss you. It's reminding her how peaceful life feels without emotional confusion. 3. The psychology of emotional fading. Here's what most people don't realize. Emotions fade faster when they're not fed. The human brain is wired to maintain emotional energy only through reinforcement. When the connection weakens and communication stops, the brain begins a quiet process called emotional fading. Think of it like this. Feelings are like fire. When you stop feeding it with meaning, warmth, or shared energy, it burns out slowly. Not dramatically, not loudly, just quietly. That's how most relationships end, not with a breakup text, but with emotional decay. When she stops hearing from you, her brain doesn't immediately go into longing mode. It goes into adaptation mode. It starts asking, is he gone? Is this final? Do I still care? And with every unanswered question, her attachment weakens. Eventually, her mind accepts your absence as the new normal. This is why silence can backfire so easily. Instead of making her miss you, it gives her emotional space to normalize life without you. And once she adjusts, that's it. No trick, no text, no sudden message will bring back the emotional intensity you once shared. So many men use silence as revenge, hoping to flip the power dynamic. But true power doesn't come from disappearing. It comes from detachment without bitterness. Silence only has value when it reflects peace, not manipulation. The reality is she won't miss what doesn't emotionally echo. If your presence didn't touch her deeply, your absence won't haunt her either. And if you want to truly make someone feel your value, it's not through absence, but authenticity. Real silence isn't about ignoring her. It's about focusing on your peace so deeply that you no longer need her to notice you're quiet. 4. The right kind of silence. Now here's where silence becomes powerful. When it comes from healing, not from hurt. When you stop talking, not because you want her attention, but because you've realized you deserve peace. That silence hits differently. When your silence is rooted in emotional maturity, it radiates calm. It doesn't make her anxious. It makes her curious because peace is rare. Most people crave drama, attention, validation. But when someone walks away silently, not to prove a point, but to protect their soul, it leaves an impression. This kind of silence doesn't chase, it reflects. It says, I'm not angry, I'm done explaining. And that energy can't be faked. It comes from growth, not games. Women feel this energy. They might not say it, but they sense it. They'll start wondering, he's not reacting anymore. Did he stop caring, or did he finally find peace? That curiosity is the real magnet. True silence isn't about ignoring, it's about understanding. You stop reacting because you finally learned that not every emotion deserves your energy. When you're quiet because you've accepted what happened, not because you're hoping she'll return, that's when silence turns into strength. So don't go silent to hurt her. Go silent to heal yourself. And when that healing is complete, she'll feel the difference. 5. When silence becomes presence. Here's the paradox. Real silence isn't about disappearing. It's about returning to yourself. When you finally stop chasing, stop explaining, stop waiting, something inside you changes. You stop craving her attention and start craving your own peace. That's when your silence becomes presence. You no longer post to make her notice. You no longer text to feel wanted. You start doing things because they make you whole again. And ironically, that's when your energy becomes magnetic, because peace always attracts curiosity. Psychology calls it emotional self-sufficiency. When a person's emotional state stops depending on external validation, and that's when people start missing you because they can sense you've detached not out of pain but power. When your silence is calm, it speaks volumes. It says, I've accepted what I can't control. And that energy, it's rare, it's grounding, it's the kind that lingers. So stop using silence as a tool to manipulate her emotions. Use it to rebuild your own. Because when you find peace, you stop needing anyone to notice your absence. And maybe that's the real reason people miss you. Not because you're gone, but because your energy finally feels complete without them. Silence doesn't always mean strength. Sometimes it means pain you never voiced. But when silence comes from peace, it turns pain into power. You don't go silent to be missed. You go silent to understand who you are without the noise. Because when you truly find yourself, you stop chasing, you stop explaining, you stop performing, you just become. And the truth is, people feel that. They start wondering why your silence feels heavier than their words, why your calm feels louder than their noise. So don't wait for her to miss you. Wait for yourself to return. Because when you do that silence, it becomes your strength, your peace, your answer to everything you once begged for. If this message spoke to you, don't just listen, reflect. Because healing doesn't start when she comes back. It starts when you stop needing her.